I deserve better! It was Monday evening, almost 8:30. I had spent the day in my home office working on a project that still required a lot of effort. Finished with work, I walked into the dark kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and pulled out my favorite light beer. As I looked out the kitchen window, I saw Joy in the backyard, curled up on our couch next to the fire pit and pool area. She was perched in the corner with her legs crossed under her butt and talking on her cell phone. I was about to step out and join her when I noticed her twirling a strand of her blonde hair with the finger of her right hand. It was a gesture I knew very well. She absent-mindedly twisted her hair whenever we had intimate conversations. No doubt it was an unconscious habit I'd admired since we'd met almost 30 years ago. And the gesture spoke to more than just her sexual arousal. It was something much bigger. Over the decades of our life together, I had come to think of her habit as a manifestation of a soulful connection. Whenever we were closest, Joy would tousle her hair. I traveled frequently on business and called home every night. When the kids were small, I enjoyed spending an hour on the phone with my loving wife and kids. There were many times when I knew Joy was twirling her hair with the finger of her right hand as we talked. That thought always warmed me from the inside out and made the lonely nights away from home quite bearable. I continued to watch Joy through the window, chatting on the phone. She smiled and even laughed occasionally. As I watched, there were moments when I could have sworn Joy was flirting. She was too far away to see the familiar light in her eyes, but I knew it was there. I noticed how comfortable she was as she talked while still twirling her hair. She was so radiant. She was glowing. My normally quick mind went numb as I realized my wife was talking to someone special. Someone too special. For nearly 45 grueling minutes, I watched as my wife had a secret, intimate conversation with someone else. After the conversation finally ended, I saw a dreamy smile appear at the corners of her mouth. I was in a deep, painful trance as I walked into the living room, turned on the television, and watched the local baseball team play. Eventually, Joy came back into the house. Seeing me sitting alone in the room, she asked, "How long ago did you finish your work?" "Recently." "Why didn't you come to my backyard, eh?" "You were on the phone and I didn't want to interrupt." "Oh, for God's sake." "I was talking to Steve. We were making some decisions about the Phillips account." Like I said, I didn't want to intrude. As we talked, I didn't take my eyes off the game, but I could feel Joy's eyes trying to drill a hole in me. Soon, Joy left for the kitchen, but returned a minute later with a glass of wine, sat down on the edge of the couch that was to the right of my chair, and asked, "What's the score?" "I have no idea." Joy grinned. "Do you even know who the Sox are playing?" "The Blue Jays." We watched the game for a while until they went to a commercial break, and Joy resumed the conversation. "Let's take the kids to a barbecue on Saturday." "That sounds like a good idea." Joy spent the next few minutes in one-sided conversation until she asked, "Chris, what's wrong?" "Nothing." "You're not talking much today. That's not like you." "I've got a lot on my mind. Is there anything you'd like to talk about?" "No." The silence lasted for a period. When the commercial break began again, Joy jumped up from the couch and pulled a blue V-neck t-shirt over her head with practiced ease. She stood before me in brown shorts, and her mature breasts spilling out of a white lace bra. There was a wide smile on her face as she suggested, "How about you turn off the TV and meet me upstairs? I'm sure I can work through your stress." "No thanks, Joy. I'm not in the mood today." Her smile grew wider as she extended her hand toward me. "Come on, big boy. Mommy needs you." I looked her in the eye. "What didn't you understand about my phrase, 'I'm not in the mood today'?" "What the hell is wrong with you? I'm just trying to be nice." "Joy, you deny me love at least twice a week. If I turn you down once a year, are you gonna whine like a fucking 4-year-old? Grow up and leave me alone." If her stare could kill, I'd turn into a piece of overcooked pork chop. Joy glared at me in disgust before turning and walking out of the room. For the first time in our marriage, I slept in the guest room. Well, I laid down on the bed in the guest room. And I was planning on it. When the bedroom clock showed 3 in the morning, I realized that staying in bed was futile. So I got up, showered in the old children's bathroom, and snuck into the master bedroom to get my clothes. The first part of my plan was simple. Before I left for work, I downloaded a tracking app to Joy's personal and work phones and synced them to my laptop and iPhone. I arrived at work with 2 large cups of Dunkin' Donut coffee and a headache. Surprisingly, the day turned out to be quite productive. It was imperative that I was able to put the finishing touches on my presentation before leaving early the next morning for a short 2-day trip. Tuesday night, it was more than freezing at home. I slept in my bed, but there was very little conversation and no intimacy between Joy and I. The next morning, I left the house early, for the second day in a row, but this time, I went to the airport for a 7:20 flight. Wednesday afternoon was productive, and I was able to settle a few key points with our client. I was confident that I would leave with a signed contract the next morning. I checked Joy's whereabouts every few hours and was relieved to know that she was either home or at work, but at the same time, I knew, deep down, that Joy was having an affair. That evening, I had dinner in the restaurant of my Marriott hotel, and at 7:30 I checked Joy's whereabouts again. She was somewhere new. Joy was at an address located in an upscale area of town, a few miles from our house. The home of her boss, Steve. Turns out she stayed the night at his place and drove directly from him to work the next morning. The next few months were stressful, but surprisingly fast. While we were surviving at home, Joy was trying to aggressively work her way back into my favor. I was pleasant and non-confrontational, but kept my distance. The few times we made love, it was just functional. Sometimes you have to unload. After following up with Joy, I learned that she limited her affair to the times I was on business trips. After the second business trip, I installed 4 video cameras throughout the house, 1 each in the kitchen, living room, guest room, and master bedroom. One thing I learned was that after I left home, Joy would pack enough clothes with me to stay at Steve's house for the entire time I was traveling. Our company attorney recommended a family law attorney to me. Since our children were grown and living separately, our divorce was a simple 50-50 split. Although it was doubtful that a private investigator would be able to obtain any videos or photos because we couldn't invade the privacy of Steve Miller's home, it was recommended that I still hire one to document Joy's living arrangements while I was out of town. However, as clever as crooks are, most of them do stupid things. My private investigator discovered that Joy and Steve liked to make love outside in his secluded backyard. I had pictures of Steve and my wife together. It was time for action, and I informed my wife of another business trip. Except for my boss and personal assistant, everyone at work thought I was away. Early Wednesday morning, I left the house and had breakfast in town. After the app showed me that Joy had left for work, I headed home. Over the course of 2 days, I carefully packed and sealed cardboard boxes of everything Joy owned. Friday morning was to be day X, but first I had to make 3 very difficult phone calls on Thursday night. Our 3 children were between the ages of 22 and 27. The youngest daughter had recently graduated from college and was working as a kindergarten teacher. The 2 older sons were also college graduates and were now working in the trades. The conversations with each of the children were similar to each other in their grotesqueness. I cried with them and assured them that I loved them but was going to divorce their mother. When each of them said I was going too far, I asked, "Do you want me to send you a video of your mother making love in the backyard at her lover's house?" They all said no. Wisely. The hilarity hit me on my 4th call. "Hey, Chris, this is an unexpected surprise. How are your meetings going?" "Hey, sweetheart, meetings are like meetings. You know how it is. How's work going?" "I'm so glad it's Friday because I can't wait for you to come home. It's been a long, lonely week. I hope we can make up a little, maybe the whole weekend." I noticed right away that Joy didn't answer my question about work, so I assumed she had become a hardened liar over the past few months. Meanwhile, Joy continued, "So to what do I owe the pleasure of your call?" "Well, I have a question for you. It may seem strange, but I'd like an answer." "It must be important because you rarely call during business hours. What's your question?" "Do you like my smile?" "Do I like your smile? What kind of question is that? You know I like your smile a lot." "Yeah, you've told me that many times. In fact, it was the first thing you ever said to me. Remember that night at the frat party? You broke out of your group of girls, came up to me and said, 'You have a great smile.'" Then I noticed the harshness in Joy's voice. "Chris, what's going on? I'm worried." "I did." I tried again. "I made a lot of effort when it was necessary to be positive, to be happy. It was very challenging at times, but living with the love of my life and 3 wonderful children was worth the effort." "Of course it was. I know. That's one of the many things I adore about you. I love your smile, and I love your positive attitude. What I love most is that you can stay manly, a man with that gorgeous smile on your beautiful face." I sobbed loudly. I couldn't help it. Despite her lies and recent destructive behavior, I knew Joy loved me. I knew without a doubt that my wife loved me. There was an extreme insistence in her voice that I knew well when Joy demanded, Christopher Harrington, what's going on?" When I didn't answer immediately, Joy pleaded, "Please tell me. I want to help. What's wrong?" The love and concern in her voice was real. She loved me more than ever, and that's what made what I was about to say so difficult. "It's just, I'm not sure that I'll ever smile at you again." Tick-tock, tick-tock, I counted down 20 seconds. I'm sure Joy had a million random thoughts running through her head, but after a few seconds I guessed she was slowly coming to the logical conclusion that I could. "No. You're scaring me, Chris. Please talk to me." "Unfortunately, Joy, you've done too much damage, so it's too late to talk." "Don't say that, honey. Don't say it and don't ever think it. It's never too late for us to talk." "It's too late. Any talk, any discussion, must be based on love, trust, and respect. I know you love me, Joy. I know you do. And I love you too. And I always will. That's why this is so hard, but I don't trust you anymore. And I know you don't respect me." Joy started to say something, but I interrupted her. "And I can't respect you anymore." With mockery in my voice, I continued, "Joy, come to the living room window. Come to the—" "Christopher, what are you talking about?" I repeated. "Joy, I asked you to come to the living room window." I was starting to get a little hilarious. "I didn't—" Come on, come on. Get up off the poolside lounger, walk out the back door into Steve's kitchen, and walk through the house until you reach the living room window." I heard screaming when she realized. "Oh my God! Oh no, he knows, Steve! Oh my God! Chris knows!" I waited until I saw Joy through the window. She was standing next to a man who I assumed was Steve Miller, her lover, her boss, the homeowner and managing partner of the accounting firm of Patterson, Miller and Lewis. Because of the sun's glare in the window, I couldn't see anything but movement and shadows. I was about 75 feet away from the house in its long driveway, so I was sure they had obviously seen me standing at the open back door of the small van with the U-Haul Company logo on it. I had opened it before I called Joy. Once Joy and Steve were where I needed them, I jumped into the cab of the van, put it in reverse, and pressed the gas pedal. The car rolled backwards and then picked up speed. As I approached the large turning area in front of the house, I hit the brakes hard. All of Joy's clothes, accessories, belongings, and treasures, which I had spent 2 days carefully packing into 48 large cardboard boxes, flew out of the back of the truck and rolled across the driveway and Steve's lawn. After moving the gearbox into the parking lot, I jumped out of the van and surveyed the mess I had made. The boxes of clothes were still somewhat intact and would be easy to put away. Heavier boxes, such as the two with Joy's great-grandmother's china, were destroyed. Pieces of 18 table pieces were broken and scattered all over the driveway. Joy and Steve moved together from the living room to the front porch of the house. Joy was wearing the bikini I'd bought her for our 25th anniversary cruise just 2 years ago. Although she still had an amazing body, she didn't wear thong panties on the cruise. She only wore them while sunbathing in the privacy of our backyard pool. And for Steve. Steve was covered in a towel. Joy watched in horror. She covered her face with her hands and breathed heavily. Steve usually acted like an alpha male, but this morning he looked much less intimidating. They didn't immediately notice another car parked next to Joy's Mercedes SUV. The paralegal jumped out of the car and stood in front of them a few steps later. Holding out a large yellow envelope to Joy, he announced, "Joy Harrington, you are served," then used his iPhone to take a picture of Joy and turned to Steve. "Stephen Miller, you and Patterson, Miller, and Lewis are served." He handed Steve a similar envelope, took his picture, walked back to his car, and drove away. For a few moments, no one moved or said anything. I considered jumping in my van and driving away, but decided to say a few more parting words. Although I knew that Joy would no doubt fight any divorce proceedings to a victorious conclusion, I wanted her to know my state of mind. I shouted across the many boxes that separated us, "At the very least, I hope we can all agree that I deserve better than a lying, cheating fool instead of a wife." Joy groaned loudly before, after a few more heartbeats, I continued. "Steve, call my lawyer and make a very, very generous offer, or I will do everything in my power to destroy you and your firm. Joy, just sign the fucking papers. I'm done." I turned around, jumped in the van, and clumsily disappeared from her life. The end.